Donald Trump just capped off the worst week of his entire presidential campaign in the worst way possible. And it has been such a terrible week for Donald Trump out on the campaign trail for three reasons. The first and most obvious, of course, was the DNC, a 4-day spree of Donald Trump getting mocked, taunted, and called out for his failed record, his Project 2025 agenda, and his cognitive decline. Donald Trump obviously driven crazy by that, as well as the incredible forward-looking vision of the Democratic Party. But that also ushered in the second reason. Donald Trump thought he had to counter-program the DNC, and so he was out on the campaign trail much more than usual. And when Donald Trump is out on the campaign trail, Donald Trump is hurting his campaign, because every time he opens his mouth, it gives us another reason and reminder of why he is completely unfit to do the job of president. We have seen several moments this week, not only just weird, but concerning from Donald Trump, that absolutely blew up, went super viral, and are hurting his campaign. And that is the third reason why Donald Trump has had such a bad week. These moments have been so strange that not even his friends at Newsmax and the Fox propaganda network can defend him. They're actually going so far as to kind of abandon Donald Trump, kind of stab him in the back as they see his campaign as a sinking ship. They're trying to distance themselves a little bit, it seems like, from Donald Trump. And at the same time, they're also just kind of fed up with him. They can only lie so much. It is certainly their jobs, but they can only do it to such an extent. And they've had enough of Donald Trump at this point, cutting off his speeches, hanging up with him, or at least trying to get him off the phone when he is calling in. And that all was capped off with an episode of The Five today, which we are going to get into. But before we do, I need to add a little context by playing a clip from a voter group last night, a panel of voters who were previously undecided before the convention, and then gave their thoughts on Kamala Harris because it drove Donald Trump crazy.
Please raise your hand right now if you're now ready to make a commitment after today. Wow. I'm just kind of surprised by it. We haven't rehearsed this. I'm going to make that very clear. Maybe we'll test for this. 7 of you are now ready. Scott?
Yes, I'm going to vote for Kamala Harris.
Andy?
Yeah, Kamala Harris, yes.
Donna?
Yes, I'm voting for her also.
Sean? Sean?
Yes, Kamala.
Sabrina?
Kamala.
Patrick?
Kamala.
Brian?
Trump.
Trump? And finally, Lindsay.
Still probably not voting.
You don't like either of them?
Nope.
Across the country, we are not just seeing Democrats who are softer Democrats or Democratic-leaning independents, but we are seeing real, true independents abandoning maybe any leanings towards Donald Trump and going to Kamala Harris. And we're also seeing MAGA and Republicans who had previously been in the cult of Donald Trump finally realizing and snapping out of it and saying, there's no way that I can vote for this guy. We saw that panel, 6 already committed to Kamala Harris, with 1 saying that they were still supporting Donald Trump. I don't believe that person was undecided then, because how could you watch Kamala Harris speak last night and then want to support Donald Trump? And then that voter who said that they were a little unsure, I don't know what that was all about. Hopefully they come around to Kamala Harris. There's a lot of campaign left to make sure that they do, but this is what's driving Donald Trump crazy, because the DNC was not only a great opportunity to move voters, but it was a great opportunity to show the thing that drives Donald Trump craziest, which is the enthusiasm of the Democratic Party and the enthusiasm around Kamala Harris. And that is exactly what was talked about on The Five today on Fox, airing out the facts for the first time, really, on Fox. And it was because the only person on Fox who speaks the truth, Jessica Tarlov, was the one talking about all the things that upset Donald Trump most in this clip.
Vegas, and the evidence of how well she did was in cold hard facts. In ratings, Trump's favorite thing, 22% up from Donald Trump's acceptance speech. 7.2 million raised between 11 p.m. and midnight over the course of the entire week. ActBlue says over $100 million came in for Democratic candidates, organizations. There was a panel of undecided Pennsylvania voters, a focus group, 8 of them in there. 6, after watching the speech, are now going with Kamala Harris. Those are all hard facts that show that she did a really good job. We know about the enthusiasm being up. We know about the polls going in her direction.
Ouch, ouch, ouch. Poor little Donald. Not only getting hit hard by Jessica Tarlov, but Jessica really hitting him where it hurts. The thing he cares most about in this world, besides himself, crowd size and ratings. And these are battles that Donald Trump is losing, and losing badly. Not only was the DNC packed and excited every day, not only did it bring in higher ratings than the RNC did, but Kamala Harris and Tim Walz earlier this week went to the same arena where the RNC was held, and filled it with a campaign rally during the DNC. Incredible. There is so much enthusiasm and excitement, and of course that is driving Donald Trump crazy. But it's not just enthusiasm. It's also patriotism, something that Republicans for so long had tried to claim. They want to dominate it. They want to say that they are the only party that is patriotic, which is just absolutely a lie. And I want to talk about that more. But first, I want to hear from Jessica Tarlov, who called it out, and her Fox hosts were driven crazy by it.
Say there were more American flags at the DNC than there were at the RNC.
Patriotism's cool when it's new.
American flags are back in the Democratic Party.
Yeah, because that's not the flags they like to. That's not the flags they like to sell. They like to burn the American flag and raise the Palestinian flag.
You cannot tell me that the Republican Party that cheers on a economic recession, that's what they want to happen. That's Donald Trump. Today we heard from him in his speech saying, 1929 is going to happen again. And we've heard Donald Trump cheer on the hopes of a stock market crash, which of course is not coming. We've only seen a stock market boom under the Biden-Harris economy. But are you telling me that Republicans who attack our president, who attack bipartisan legislation, who attack our fundamental freedoms, who attack our capital and our democracy, those are the patriotic people? No, I don't think so. And it just drives MAGA crazy that Democrats are reclaiming the narrative around freedom, around patriotism. What it means to love our country is to protect our communities and move this country forward. And that's just something that they can't reckon with because all they care about are themselves or their big rich donors or stripping people of their fundamental freedoms. They're not a party about excitement and the joy of governing. They're a party of obstruction and attacks on democracy. And that is what has led Donald Trump to crash in the polls, a hard truth that he was confronted by a Fox host, a MAGA Fox host last night, and he just couldn't handle it. And let's check that out.
Let me ask you this, sir. There has been a huge appeal and momentum for women voters. She's trying to pull the youth vote, the Hispanic vote, the black vote back in her direction. Polls show that she's having some success in that at this point. So what are you going to do? What's your strategy to rebuild the momentum that you had with those voters?
No, she's not having success. I'm having success.
Americans are finally starting to see this contrast that we have continued to talk about on this show every single day. And it's an important contrast between Kamala Harris, not just as a prosecutor, not just as someone with an actual vision for this country, against Donald Trump, the career criminal and completely corrupt person who has no vision for this country except to push us back to a time of chaos and division and a time in which we enjoyed fewer fundamental freedoms. But it's also about the contrast of these two people's bios. Kamala Harris has spent her life serving. She has spent her life working hard to get to the place that she is in. And as Jasmine Crockett in this clip will describe Donald Trump, someone who has failed up his entire life. And we are not going to let Donald Trump's failures run our country anymore.
You're talking about someone who has worked her way up, and you're talking about someone else who has never, ever had to work for anything a day in his life, and yet he is still looking for another handout. He is looking, we heard it from Michelle Obama, and I even alluded to it. This is a guy who continues to fail up. That is never an option for us, and it's never been an option for Kamala Harris.
We have seen the successes of Kamala Harris. I loved the statement she made in her speech at the DNC last night, talking about the accomplishments that she had that allowed her to win the offices that she held. That was so powerful because Donald Trump and J.D. Vance want to try to discredit Kamala Harris's record, her achievements, the public office that she has held, say that she's unqualified to be president, which is wholly untrue. As I like to point out, Kamala Harris has served in elected office longer than J.D. Vance and Donald Trump combined. And also, she's done a great job in those public offices. Unlike Donald Trump, who was an abject failure as president, and I don't even know what J.D. Vance does in the Senate. A whole lot of nothing. He attacks people. That's it. He just attacks people. He goes on Fox. That's J.D. Vance's job. Yeah, that's the clear contrast. That's the clear contrast we're talking about on this show. And that's the clear contrast that Americans are recognizing every day. And that it is why Donald Trump is being confronted with the reality that he is losing this election. And while polling isn't everything, it's certainly not nothing. The polls are moving. We at least see that. If you don't want to trust them, I understand. It's been difficult to trust them before. But we do see that they're moving in the direction of Kamala Harris. So of course we're going to continue to fight like we are behind in the polls, but it is good to know that there is movement behind Kamala Harris, not just from Democrats and independents, but Republicans who are tired of Donald Trump, tired of his complaining and whining, and want to go forward instead of back. That we are unifying the country with this message, and I couldn't be happier about it. And we're going to keep talking about that on the show. And if you want to support it, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Join the community that we are building here. We just blew past 200,000 subscribers, and I couldn't be more grateful for the support over the last month and a half. We have grown so quickly because of you. And if you want to continue to support, make sure to hit that like button. Drop a blue heart in the comments if you stuck around to the end. And until next time, I'll see you soon.